Hi everybody, welcome to the Arsenal FC podcast. Sorry. I just see Jason there, so I immediately jumped to Arsenal. Welcome to 343, episode 102. We're going with two up front for the Gunners today. With myself, Ziyaad, joined by my co-host and fellow Arsenal supporter, Jason Ronnie. What's happening, my man?
It's going good, man. It's going good. I thought you were going to give us like a Saliba Gabriel pairing, but now you're going up. Arsenal don't even play with strikers. So who's this front line that you speak
We the
of?
two that they need, probably, man. So.
Brother, neither of us can strike a match. How are we going to go play for
But
us?
I'm pretty sure I could put some of that away that Havertz is heading miss, bruh.
If I had to make a lunch for any of those things, my hamstring would pull seven different ways from Sunday. So yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
see,
you
I
must
didn't want
play.
to say that, so I'm glad you said it. But
No, but it's fine. If,
yeah,
if I say it, then it means that I've accepted it. So it's fine.
okay, so you're still in denial, just like Arteta in denial about needing a striker. But anyway, we'll come back to that a bit later on. So action packed episode we have lined up for you guys today. We're gonna go through some select results from the past weekend. Some refereeing, actually just one refereeing decision that we're gonna hone in on a bit. Hopefully not too long, but we're going to touch on that. We got some transfer news that we want to cover, and then the big one, Arsenal versus Man City preview for the big game coming up this weekend. So let's get straight into it, Jason. I know you don't get to watch much football at the moment with all your responsibilities, but I'm glad that you managed to catch the Arsenal game over the weekend. What are your thoughts about the Gunners coming away with a 1-0 victory at Wolves?
Yo, I think after the red card happened, I was like, yo, is this one of those games where we're going to look at it and we're going to think, ugh, this is another one that we chalk off to bad decisions? I think I was very impressed with the second half performance. The boys came out strong. They showed tenacity. And okay, maybe it only started to click once, what is it, João Gomez got sent off as well. But I'm fine. I was happy that we got the win. We were able to put a bit more pressure on Liverpool. Obviously, they were in stupendous form as well, so that's okay. But we just have to keep ticking on. We just have to keep winning the games. It was nice to see that we could actually get a win instead of a draw or a loss in a game we normally would.
Yeah, once we went down to 10 men, all those feelings come back where you're wondering again, snap, are we not gonna struggle here? Are we gonna just get the point out of the game? Or, while Wolves had 11 men, are we gonna actually lose? A lot of those thoughts kind of go through your mind. But yeah, I'm glad we got the 3 points. Played fairly well. I mean, wasn't too worried about how we played. We're creating chances, but I mean, it's the same story every week. We talk about not being able to put them away, and I think for me, the star performer was Declan Rice. I thought he just
Yeah.
managed the game really well. He kind of figured out what was needed and he went about his business, which is fantastic. And hopefully he can pick up form. Going into this crunch run that we have, because he's going to be very, very, very important for us.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was such a good thing to see as well because in this last few games when I think our big talisman Bukayo Saka hasn't been played, we've got Declan Rice that's come back from a what was it, toe injury, and he's really stepped up where the team needed leaders to come from all different parts of the field. We have Gabriel who's been stupendous over these last few games as well. We've had Odegaard who's been a bit sick, so maybe Rice stepping up was him taking control of that midfield. And yeah, just a special mention to David Raya. I think he saved us a few times. And it's often overlooked, when the team doesn't concede, but it's all through his marshalling, it's all through his controlling, and then also those key saves in those times where we have a little bozo moment. It's good to see that the keeper can still be relied upon, he's not having a moment of lapse of concentration, like our former keeper used to get entangled with the fans or there's a pigeon on the field and the guy
I
loses
missed that.
concentration.
I missed that. That was
Yeah, look,
entertaining.
that's fun and all if you have a Sunday league team. But if you're trying to win a league, you have a guy that's more involved with the fans behind the balls. That's not what I want at least.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
fair enough.
good win.
Raya was solid, and he did make a couple of good saves when called upon. So good clean sheet for him, and the defense, which is constantly changing. Obviously, with injuries, people coming back into
Yeah.
the side, people going out, and so on. But anyway, we before we move on to some of the other games, just obviously the red card. right? I'm not even gonna ask you because I know that you also think it wasn't a red card. It was a bit. I mean, at the end of the day, right? If we're gonna slow down everything, things are gonna look worse than they
Yeah,
are. But we
yeah,
didn't even get to that point because the guy gave a red card in real time,
yeah,
right? From just outside the box. I mean, people talk about intent a lot. And there are a lot of challenges where, I mean, for us, we're watching, so it's hard to know what someone's intent is or was. But I mean, you can see that phase of play. It's very obvious. It's a cynical foul, stopping the
yeah,
count. It's a yellow card, and you move on. I mean,
yeah.
in what world do you think there was any malice in that challenge?
Not in the one that I look in, 100%. I think it's been blown out of proportion so exceptionally. It's actually a bit ludicrous at times because in the very same game, we have a challenge of, I think, not the same intent, but with more impact, and it only gets carded as a yellow. So it's really we preach this every week, and it seems like Arsenal fans are turning into conspiracy theorists, but it's literally legitimately no consistency. So we see it in the same game, and I think even in the same weekend where Jolinton makes a lunge, completely connects with a part of the foot of the leg. I think it's above the ankle, which is what they deemed Myles Lewis-Skelly's challenge to be, with more intent, with more force, and he gets away with absolutely everything. So, yeah, it goes back to the same thing we preach every time, which is where's the consistency? If it's
Yeah, and
gonna
I
be
mean,
that a cynical foul gets a red card, then do it every time, and then show me that it's the same thing.
yeah. And I mean, look at the at the end of the day, right? Who wants to watch football and worry about which part of the ankle the studs made contact with and
Yeah,
which part of the shin? I mean, football players wear shin guards for a reason, right? I
exactly that.
mean, I'm not saying that players should go studs up and take people out, but just basics, man. Like keep it simple. Did it affect the game? I mean, that guy was rolling around like he broke his ankle, and then he was up within a minute or two. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to football is that the players lie on the floor screaming, crying, and then
Yeah,
within a few minutes they back up and running,
yeah,
and it's like nothing happened, you know. So I mean, there's a lot of people responsible. The players themselves were trying to sell it so hard. Obviously,
yeah,
that ref is just I don't understand what his issue is. You know, just not even thinking about it, not looking at the monitor and so on. And then the PGMOL just doubling down on everything. I mean, trying to
exactly.
explain
Yeah,
everything. And for me, the biggest concern during the game was a straight red is obviously 3 matches, a
yeah,
ban, right? Whereas João Gomez gets a yellow card, that's a 1 match ban because of
yeah,
the 2 yellows, right? So
yeah,
you need, I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm saying this, but we need Lewis Kelly in the team.
yeah,
He's- Especially with Calafiori's fitness issues. But again, having a 3 match ban is just it's crazy because it can and swing a lot of things. And just to tie a bow on the referee thing quickly,
yeah,
I was listening to Ian Wright, and he was saying that if you look at all of the VAR decisions and the refereeing stuff, he feels that Gary O'Neill might still have been in a job because Wolves were at the wrong end of
yeah,
a lot of terrible VAR decisions. And ultimately, the referees should never be spoken about. They shouldn't be
yeah,
this central to the game. You know, we're always talking about them, and it should be about the football. Let the players play, and
100%.
try and let the game flow as much as possible. Obviously, when things are bad, you pull out your cards and stuff. But I mean, the ref sometimes, especially Michael Oliver, tries to be the central figure of the game, tries to do things so early on in the game to show
Yeah,
that, you know, I'm also here. We
yeah,
know you're there, unfortunately. So just get the game moving, man. Let's play ball and let's, you know, give the fans what they want to see, which is good football, good flowing football. And obviously, if it's really bad, then pull out the cards. But you know, let the game flow. On that note, we shall move on. Like you were mentioning, Liverpool earlier in good form. They just continue to win, continue to rack up the points. Salah's no closer to a contract, but the ball keeps going in the net, setting up others and so on.
yeah.
I don't know. Liverpool, I don't think they can be caught, eh?
Yeah, I think the smallest part inside, like a very fine thing, thinks that they are going to fumble, and I suppose I have to hold on to that optimism. But at this moment in time, they're showing such great form, and it's not. Maybe it's not as comfortable in certain games, but at the end of the day, if you get your 3 points, that's all that matters. It keeps racking up, and
Yeah.
ordinarily I would look at and say, you know, there's still a game in hand. I'd much rather have points. But with the way they're playing, it seems like you can put anybody in front of them and they'll be able to figure out a way to win the game and to get what they need out of the game.
Yeah.
Um, they've now also conditioned, or not conditioned, but positioned themselves in such a way that even a draw, even a loss, kind of still, it obviously narrows the gap, but it kind of almost, it might act as a wake up call and they'll just continue on. So, yeah, I think they are moving good. I'm having to put my faith in Bournemouth and Everton, which I don't normally do. I don't think I've ever done that before. But I think if there are any two teams, possibly besides maybe Arsenal and City, that can cause a dent, it would be these two teams, Everton and Bournemouth coming up. So, yeah, fingers crossed, but it's not looking very likely for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. Speaking of Bournemouth, obviously beating Newcastle 5-0, if I'm not
5
mistaken. 5-0 or
1.
5-1. Either
5
way,
1.
putting 5 past Newcastle, fantastic achievement. And the manager, Andoni Iraola, has been doing a fantastic job. I mean, tons of injuries, just plugging in players. I couldn't even tell you the name of the guy that scored the hat trick this week. I know Clive scored the hat trick the week before. Evan Nielsen is out.
Yeah.
The plug and play manager's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think it's also, yeah, so I think it was Newcastle 2 weeks ago. And then this week was, who was it? This week was somebody else, obviously. But yeah, they they completely hammered a team that they were not supposed to beat as much as they did. And even that Newcastle game, and I think Ariola, or not Ariola, I can't even pronounce his name, whatever it is. He had spoken about how they don't want to
It
give
was
teams
Forest this week. Sorry. I
Forest
was
this week,
getting
but also
confused with the ends here.
yeah,
Newcastle, Nottingham Forest.
yeah.
So
You see, we
Newcastle was 5-1 and Forest was 5-zip.
yeah, and that's also a shock because Forest are doing so well recently, and that came against
Yeah.
a run of play. But yeah, he said in an interview where he was talking about how they don't let the team set up. They want to play a brand of football that allows them to determine most of the outcomes, and that says quite a lot. You know, it's not a manager that's really spoken about a lot, but when I check back, and he used to play for Athletic Bilbao, I think he played under Bielsa. So similar sort of style, you know, we will run, we'll cause disruption, we'll cause
Yeah.
sort of lots of chaos, and then they have the technical quality in the players. Not a lot of well-known players, like you say. I mean, who was the guy who scored the hat trick this week? Not Adingara. It was Otaro
Yeah.
somebody.
Dango. Dango.
Dango, yeah, Dango,
Yeah.
and it's
Who's
like
only playing because Evan Nielsen is injured.
exactly, and was also only playing because the NS Unal, the key striker, marquee striker, is also not playing. So it's like
Yeah.
they've been literally, like you say, plug and play, but it's working.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go. I do consider myself a bit of a cherry this weekend
Nice.
when they come in contact with Liverpool. So yeah, hopefully it's something
Yeah.
positive for the
We'll see what
guys.
happens. A couple of other results just to touch on. Obviously, Spurs losing, which we love.
Yeah,
Going
which
down
also
to Ruud
comes to
van
expect
Nistelrooy's
now, isn't
sister.
it? It's more that they're going to
What?
lose than they win. Yeah, so it's sort of okay. It's just a scoreline that we have to figure out.
Exactly. And also, I love Jamie Vardy. Riling up the crowd there with his Premier League title, which was quite fun. But I don't know. I don't see Ange lasting too much longer. I'll give him a week or two at most. But I mean, they talk about injuries and stuff, whereas Bournemouth don't have any issues, even though they have injuries. But then the pushback people say is they're playing in more competitions and so on. And look, for me, at the end of the day, I've said this many times on the show before. It's about the squad, man. It's
Yeah,
professional football. You got to have a squad, and injuries can only be used as an excuse, for so
yeah,
long. And if you have injuries, then why are you still trying to play like you got your best 11? Adapt your
exactly.
tactics,
Yeah,
make play more tight, try and get a result, and when your best players come back, then you can play that gung-ho again. So I think Ange is just struggling. Obviously, to Leicester haven't won in like 7 games or something, and you let them win.
yeah,
The talk around the social media is that if you need to resurrect anybody, just make sure they play against Tottenham. If you have a player who hasn't scored in a while, Tottenham will help him score. If you
yeah,
haven't won in a while, Spurs will help you. So not looking good, and they're getting closer and closer to that relegation zone and battle. And then two more matches I want to touch on. Man City, Chelsea. Obviously, City the big winners there, coming out 3-1 against Chelsea. I thought Chelsea were actually going to do well, and I thought they would actually beat City, but surprise, surprise, Man City pulled out the win. Did you What do you make of Omar Mamouche? Obviously, fantastic talent coming from Frankfurt. He played up front with Holland.
Yeah. I think it's exciting. I think it's a bit. I don't know if it's upsetting because I really couldn't care about City, but I thought they had something similar in Julian Alvarez.
Yeah,
So
so they basically
yeah,
took a step forward, and
they've obviously just had to replace him, and they've paid a pretty penny to replace him. But I think he's lively. I think he gives them
yeah,
where Haaland is the focal point. You have Umar Mamushu just he plays his runs well. He seems to have a good finish, and he
yeah,
also has that little bit of arrogance about him because he's in a hot vein of form. I think he's got about 25 goals that he scored for Frankfurt this season alone in all comps, and it's like 30 games. So that's numbers. I mean, any league in Europe to hit that is good, but to do it in one
yeah,
of Europe top fives is good. And now he comes to City, and it's I think he'll do well. I'm hoping he's not going to do well maybe this weekend, but
yeah.
I think any that is perfectly
we'll
fine. Go and score
we'll
as many goals as you want.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think City again they seem to be getting into a little bit of a ebb and a flow, and it's probably the best time for them. And they seem to do this
yeah.
every season. They have the little stumble, and then they come together Jan, Feb, March, and yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm not
Yeah,
super sure.
we'll talk a bit more about City when we get to the preview you section. Just with Chelsea quickly, very disappointing. Obviously, there was talks about the ghost Palmer pitching up in this game rather than
100%.
Cole Palmer.
Yeah,
And then obviously Chelsea playing that high line, which didn't make
yeah,
any sense because they kept playing it and kept conceding. And
yeah,
we've had Strippard on in previous episodes, and he detests Robert Sanchez in goal. And I think that era was just ridiculous. Like, what are you thinking? And
yeah,
Chelsea have like 9 goalkeepers on their books, and
yeah.
this is the one they choose to be their number one, and it's costing them. They're just completely off at the moment.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know. And specifically for I think it was the second goal, right? So they play the
Yeah,
ball over and he runs out and he's confused. And I've always thought keepers are crazy because I know quite a few crazy keepers, but it's like, what are you doing there? Like, he's not a amateur striker playing local football in some bum country. This is Erling Haaland. If you're going to give him a chance to chip with that much space over your head, oh
yeah,
my God. I was sitting there and I was getting second-hand embarrassment, and I'm an Arsenal fan. I love the downfall of Chelsea, but goodness, that was shocking, eh? And
yeah.
yo, I've lived through a few bozo keepers of my own, and yo,
Yeah.
that is tough.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. I thought Chelsea would make a bit of a run here and hang around, but it's looking like the wheels are starting to come off. And there is precedence for this because apparently, if you look at Leicester City's season last season when they came up from the championship, Maresca started off strong first half of the season, fantastic, and then the team fades away. But they do enough in the first half of the season, obviously,
Yeah,
to win
yeah,
the championship. Whereas in the Premier League, it's going to be a bit different. So
yeah,
and
yeah,
with
yeah,
Chelsea, they don't waste any time, bro. If he can't get this group going, firing again, you could
yeah.
be coming towards the business part of the season, and his job could be on the line because they really have no patience, like we've seen with
But
many other managers before.
but it's so silly because I think on the back of what he's done in the first half, you have to give him some more time. Like,
Yeah,
whilst I'm not happy with the fact that they can spend over 1 bill on transfers and they can have two different squads for two different competitions, there's clearly an identity, and we speak about it at the start of the
yeah,
season. We said, Chelsea's that sort of banana skin, and as much as they didn't want to acknowledge that they were in the run, they were close there. They
yeah.
were never going to stay,
It's
but at
funny
that
enough
peak,
that we had all changed, right? When
yeah,
they started being
yeah,
spoken about as being in the title race, and then
yeah,
Mariska said they're not ready, and then they said, "Oh, okay, coach said we're not
yeah,
ready, so
yeah,
let's not be ready and let's start
yeah,
losing." And I mean, they went on a run. I think 5 games where they didn't win. And
yeah,
yeah,
and
it's just I
that's
mean, I'm not for firing the emo in any way or shape or form. All I'm saying is we know Chelsea, we know they run out of patience quickly,
yeah,
and
understood.
if he doesn't make this top four spot
Yeah.
their own, he could
Yeah.
be under pressure coming towards the end of the season. And then I don't want to spend too much time on this because this was a bit of a waste of time. But United did manage to win 1-0 against Fulham. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I just think that you have to just ride it out. I think in this time period where United don't have the best sort of game plan going, they're going to sit and they're going to frustrate teams, and then they're going to get that one chance and they're going to make it happen. If you can
But
put
they're
up with that,
frustrating their fans also. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I
no,
don't know. That's part of
100%,
Amarim's
100%.
tactic. He's not
That's
just frustrating the opposition; he's
yeah.
frustrating his own players, his fans. I saw apparently the goalkeeper coach was warming up to come on or something like that.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's because he had Rashford's boots, isn't it?
Yeah,
No, but it was more just it's sort of a banana skin to play against United now, because if you go at
yeah,
them in big spaces, they are able to carve you open. It's not a completely horrible team, but
true.
ask them to start doing something where a team sits back, then it becomes a bit challenging. So
Yeah,
lots of the games coming up is going to be where a team like Fulham, who likes to play the ball, who have done very well as well under Marcus Silva, just sit, just wait, and then something will happen. And you saw there was the goal that they had disallowed as well, but that's literally
yeah,
okay. Fulham let it lapse go quickly, and then boom, they almost had a second goal. So it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be upsetting. You're going to want to get to a point where you stop supporting United, and it's only going to be the 35th minute, and then in the 75th you're going to have a goal, and then in the 90th you'll get a second.
yeah.
It's okay,
Possibly. Anyway, we're gonna leave it there, and we're gonna move on to transfers.
100%.
And look, as we bring up the transfers here, just a quick one there. Obviously, Amarim is saying some crazy things in the media. I'm quite enjoying it
Yeah,
actually. I don't know what his end
of
game
course
is.
you are.
Some of the things he's saying, it's like how can you say this about your own squad and stuff? But
Yeah,
it's interesting because what's the effect gonna be? And I mean, you pretty much close the door on Rashford now, right? When you say the goalkeeper coach is
yeah,
you'd rather play the goalkeeper coach. Like, how is he gonna come back from that?
yeah,
And if they don't sell him, what are they gonna let him train with the
yeah.
reserves, or what they gonna do?
I don't know. I think Rashford's best thing now is to move out of London, obviously. Whether it's going to come, I honestly don't know. I was listening to, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was saying, like, how does Rashford at the age, I'm not sure how old he is, maybe 26, 27. How does he
Yeah,
suddenly forget how to train? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, he's not just immediately going to forget what it takes to be a professional. So there must definitely be something
yeah.
going on. And there was somebody put the link together that when he breaks up with his girlfriend, the form sort of dips. When he gets into a stable relationship, then the skyrockets. I don't know. Maybe we should check that relationship status and see where he currently is, because I know
We're
his
going
girl
into
went
this Daily Sun TMZ zone here where I tap out.
100%, 100%.
Okay,
But yeah,
so we wrap up that game week. Transfer time. Let's go.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so we're sticking with United, obviously. First transfer here, we have Patrick Dorgu, left back, left wing back, however you want to look at it. Obviously, with the formation Amram's playing, Danish player from Lecce in the Serie A. Obviously, Arsenal went to go buy a player from Italy, and so now United want to do the same thing. Any thoughts on this deal? It seems to be pretty much done and just waiting on a medical.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, I haven't seen much. I'm not going to claim that I know all his skills and his attributes, but I think from what I've seen, he looks very exciting. I think he adds an extra dimension. Maybe you don't have to play a right foot at left back anymore. With a recent history of injuries and all those things, I think he brings a surety. Any player that signs for United, though, you have to understand you're going to miss a few games just because I think their medical team is the worst in the whole league. And that says a lot. With Bournemouth's 15 injuries, Arsenal's injuries, I think
Spurs
United still
also it. Didn't
Spurs as well.
United hire the guy from Arsenal? I feel like they
Exactly.
did.
Daniel Driscoll.
Yeah, not
And he
smart.
was at Arsenal for 16 years. And if you look back
Mm.
at our track record, it's kind of similar to
Yeah,
what
nah,
United
we
do now. So
true.
good riddance is what I say.
Okay. Welcome to the Premier League, Patrick Dorgu, and good luck to you.
100%.
Next up, we have Evan Ferguson, who
Yeah.
the rumors are saying that he obviously wants to get out of Brighton, not getting a chance to play. João Pedro, Danny Welbeck, those are the guys ahead of him. And Ferguson actually burst onto the scene and was regarded as, one of the best young players around. And
Yeah.
he's tailed off quite a bit. So moving to West Ham, what are your thoughts? I think reunited with Graham Potter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was actually trying to see if there was a bit of a linkage, but I'm sure they must have interacted. I think
Mm,
it would be a good thing. He has stagnated. He did have an injury, and he hasn't been able to break in, obviously, due to the success of or the form of Welbeck and João Pedro and even all of the other guys that would play in that front line. I think it will be a good move. I think it will be a good move to kickstart him. I think West Ham seem to have sort of found a groove under Potter. There's a bit more of an identity with the injury, not the injury, but the accident that happened to Antonio and Ings,
Yeah.
really, and then full crew as well. I think he'll add a different dimension. You've got somebody that's strong that can hold the ball up, but he's also quite mobile. He's got a good finish on him. If it is a loan deal, we have a 30 mil figure there, but I think it's because Brighton might want to just capitalize on getting that 30 mil for him now.
Yeah, and I think he also wants the permanent move.
Yeah.
So
There are also talks of him possibly going to Marseille. Obviously, De Zerbi worked with him pretty closely.
yes, yes.
These are what our producer has confirmed. I don't have the earphone in, but I know that's what the producer said.
Now you're on
So
the same wavelength. So
100%, 100%. So yeah, I think it'll be a good move. I think it's maybe what his career needs right now. A little springboard onto something else, and just to have a season where maybe injury free, and he gets a chance to be the leading man for a consistent period of time.
yeah, it's a good option for West Ham. Moving on, we have Douglas
Douglas,
Luiz.
please,
Right,
yeah.
obviously left Villa, not taking on at Juventus. So with Man City obviously needing reinforcements and having already bought a couple of players, there's talks that he might be coming back to the Premier League, and Man City would use him to fill the void left by Rodri.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think the only question is, can the guy play right back and can he play left wing back? Because that's what happened with Mateus Nunes. But yeah, I think it would be a good move for him. It's a bit crazy knowing that Douglas Luiz was at Manchester City. So to pay 50 mil for a player that was there, I think it must be a Manchester thing because I heard United's also in for Alvaro, the left back from Benfica, who was in their club.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I think it would be a good
Pogba move,
addition.
right?
Yeah, if it does come to fruition, and look, the transfer window is going to be closing soon, so I don't know how many moves can be pulled very quickly. I think it'll be a good
Yeah.
thing. Rodri's probably back into season, but what they've lacked is that depth in that role. I think Gundogan's
Mm.
been completely out of it.
Hey, he doesn't
So
have the legs. He's just
yeah, honestly,
yeah,
and it's key because all of the good teams they have a strong engine room, and I think last season we saw Liverpool didn't have that. This season they've got
yeah,
Gravenberch, Arsenal's got Rice that's really ticking on. Without Rodri, City look completely lost. And
yeah.
then yeah, coupled with the fact De Bruyne's legs are going, Bernardo Silva seems a bit lost as well. Gundogan can't marshal. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'll be a good signing if they can keep it. But
It's
then
uh it's an interesting move because I mean obviously his stock was high when he was with Villa, and
yeah,
Arsenal were in for him as well. I mean
yeah,
sliding doors moment there, but he could have
yeah,
joined Arsenal alongside Rice. Wouldn't have had to go get Marina, for example. But Serie A obviously came calling for him, and it just he hasn't taken to it. And coming back to the Premier League might just be the move that he needs. So let's see. Hopefully, he doesn't come in time to play against Arsenal on the weekend. If he does, if he does
I
come,
think we
because you
should
know
be
how it
okay.
goes, man. You
It's
get
time.
these things where we were in it for him, and then he does some weird stuff. Hasn't scored a goal in 70 years, and then
He
that
has
day
to
he
score the first
decides
one. No,
he's gonna
100%.
score a 30-yard screamer, and
Or
then
what
he
was
won't
it?
score again for the rest of the season.
I think one of his goals when he was at Villa when Ramsdale was keeper was he scored from a corner. So yeah, as long as he's not on set pieces, I think we should be good.
Yeah,
Um,
we should be alright. I think we've got one more transfer. We've
yeah,
got the wonder kid from Rosenborg. Some are saying he's in the Erdegaard mold. And again, I mean it's a bit frustrating for us to see our club being linked to all these players who aren't going to help us immediately.
yeah,
But again, with an eye to the future, and
yeah.
we've got a lot of clubs circling at the moment, which is probably why they're pushing to get this deal done. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, again, very exciting kid. Watched a bit of the highlights. Can't claim to watch a Rosenborg ever. So yeah, from what it seems, it looks exciting. It does beg the question: is he going to improve our team in the immediacy? As soon as he signs, is he going to come in? Is he going to add extra options? That's apparently the talk. A lot of the youngsters now, the good youngsters, are seeking a clear pathway. So I think what we did with Ethan
Yeah,
Waneri,
that's why a lot of the youngsters are going to United because there's
yeah,
a
but that's
easy pathway
because
for them into the
yeah,
team.
it's a massively open runway, and there's nobody that's in
Yeah,
front of them. So we've lost centre backs, we've lost strikers, but I mean that those that are staying true and that have been given the pathway are flourishing. So yeah, I think he's a good kid. I think he'll add a bit of quality. They're saying he plays, he can play in the front line, he can play in the left central midfield as well, a bit of a
Yeah.
direct runner.
Look, I'm just worried about another Fabio Vieira situation where a guy comes in and he's not going to get game time in the first 11.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he needs to be playing. We saw this with Erdegaard when he joined Madrid. He went on so many different loans
yeah,
before, it clicked. And
yeah,
the other option, I mean, obviously linked with Arsenal here, but there's talk about City as well. And not
yeah,
joining Man City directly, but joining the City football group. So starting with a team like maybe Girona, playing
yeah,
with them, until he's ready to be
yeah.
sold to City at a cut price like Savinho was. So there's talks about that,
Which
and
is still
I think
sus. That is so suspicious. But okay, that's
yeah, but
that's
I mean,
a
it
check.
is what it is, right? No point
Yeah,
debating it if that's just how it's going. But the other thing with him, I think our producer was telling us that what's his name, Erling Haaland had him in his box.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so
But I mean,
maybe
look,
he brought him
are
to
you
the
going to
game.
listen to that guy? Or you can listen to the captain of your national team, who can probably get you a call up. So yeah,
They
Odegaard.
both, Haaland is also part of the same team, bruh. If
Yeah,
we're
no,
talking
but
about
Odegaard's the
countries,
captain. Odegaard's the captain. Haaland's
yeah.
the vice captain. So there has to be some.
My experience with the younger players today, they're all about the brand and the money and so on. And Holland has shown a better path to making money. I mean, he signed contracts with clauses in which allowed him to move when he wanted to. He
Yeah,
had release clauses that made it easy for him to move. So if you're a young player, you're probably better off following Erling Haaland's
yeah,
um, you know, method because you're gonna make a lot more money that way than if you follow your bounce around before he found a home in London. So just some news coming in here. Arsenal bid 60 mil for Ollie Watkins, which Villa rejected instantly. Uh, yeah, how do you feel about Ollie Watkins?
I think he's good. I think he would add a lot to our team. He seems to have tapered off a bit this season for some reason or the other, but I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
that's the thing, bro. Like, why are we gonna now go in for a player who's on the downward curve? It seems he's not in the greatest of form, and we're just gonna go pay 60 mil for him. It doesn't make any sense. And if Villa is willing to give him up, then to Arsenal, war, not. I mean, obviously we should be a bit ahead of Villa, but I don't know, man. Why buy the dip?
I mean, look, as with anything, right? You have to buy the dip, so when it rises, you obviously have the stock. But
But this is the expensive dip, bruh. 60 mil.
no, I
It's not
mean,
like
look,
we're
yeah,
getting him at 30 or something.
I think there's a key way that Arteta is trying to sign, and it's the pre-proven,
Mm,
so that they don't take a while to adapt, like this kid that could possibly come in. You sign Ollie
yeah.
Watkins, and I kid you not, right? It's just we're crying out for a striker. If he gets
Yes.
half the opportunities that he gets, that we create, I'm almost certain he finishes it, and that's literally been the difference in the last few seasons. Yes,
Yeah.
we've scored goals and we've scored 91 goals with no recognized forward last season. But if we had a recognized forward, we break the 100 mark and we win the league. So get a pre-improvement striker in now. We've already played Villa twice, so that should be fine.
Mm.
Then
Speaking
we'll
of
just go.
speaking of strikers, right? I mean, the I think we're long gone or long past the point where people play with the center forwards that are prolific. I mean, outside of Isaac Isak, however you pronounce his name, and Chris Wood, most of the goals are coming from the wide positions. You got your wide forwards, you got Mohamed Salah. Obviously, okay, you still got Haaland, a couple of guys playing centrally. But if you look at most of the best teams around the world, these guys are playing on the wings, basically. They're the ones scoring the goals: the Salahs, Mbappe's, Vinny's,
Yeah,
and so on. Omar Mamouche himself, obviously one of the top scorers in the Bundesliga before coming to City. They were scoring goals from wide positions. That
yeah.
traditional number nine role is it's very hard to find. Like, Ollie Watkins himself likes to drift out. He doesn't stay in the center all the time. He's always drifting wide. It is strange the way it's changed. The way football's changed, where most of the goals are coming from other sources as opposed to that central number nine figure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just moving with the times. I think football itself, like you say, has changed. So the emphasis isn't. It's about getting your overloads in the wide areas. It's about having a focal point up front, but then making sure that when you pull in your two defenders, you have channels that midfielders and
Yeah.
then wide players can run into. So yeah, it's moved to, I suppose, to provide more cover in the one sense. So it's sort of the
And to
formation sort of
promote the press also, right? It's probably
yeah,
to
yeah,
promote the press and the link
hundred
up players
percent.
and stuff. If you look at City before Haaland, they were winning the league with Jesus,
Yeah,
who's not a recognized,
yeah,
number nine per se. That false nine thing going. If you look at Liverpool currently this season, all the players they're playing through the middle are players they bought actually to play wide. They've
yeah,
put Luis Diaz in the middle for a bit. They've obviously
yeah,
Jota when he's fit, he runs through the middle there. Gakpo's also played through the center quite often. So, they're not your traditional number nines, but they have good movement across
yeah,
their front. So when one comes central, one pushes wide, they have
yeah,
their wing backs also, or their full backs, or whatever you want to call them,
yeah,
overlapping. People just move a lot and move well,
yeah,
which is a lot different to having your traditional strikers like your Drogba's, Van der Nistelrooys, etc. Just camped there in and around the 6 yard box, like the Jamie Vardy's. Um, you know, you just it's just hard to find. I mean,
yeah,
we've been looking for a striker and find it, which means we keep looking for other types of players, and that's how the game has changed. And speaking of all these forwards, let's move on to the preview now just
sure.
to talk about Arsenal and Man City.
We've
Obviously,
got
like you said earlier,
yeah,
Man City seem to be putting it all together. But
yeah,
I didn't feel that way after they obviously before the PSG game. I said I don't think they're going to put it all together that quickly, and then they lost to PSG. Then they came back and beat Chelsea the weekend, so it's a bit of a mixed bag.
yeah,
This week they have their make or break Champions League fixture, which I think they will win. I think they'll see
yeah. I think
through.
so too. I think
They'll get past
yes.
Club Brugge and they'll
Club
make it
Brugge,
to the
yeah,
next round. And
yeah,
that
yeah.
confidence going into the weekend could be good for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the key to City is, despite writing them off, right, they've won so many Premier League titles that they know exactly what it is that they need to do in order to carve out results. So the thing that Liverpool has realized this season now is what City is known for forever. And I say forever, but yeah, for the last 7 out of 8 seasons, maybe. Yeah, so I think it's one of those games that both coaches have the tendency to sometimes overthink. It's not
Yeah.
going to be a high scoring affair. I think Arsenal's defense at home might be a bit better than City's been away, but yeah, City
So
seem to
with
be
that,
clicking.
right? With
Mm,
that, okay, with City, obviously you spoke about Guardiola and Arteta, but the same thing happened with Maresca. I think where they overthink it, Maresca
yeah,
thinking, what would Pep do if I do this? So
yeah,
I'll rather do X, and then he won't do
yeah,
Y, and just
yeah,
that overthinking, which Pep himself did a few times in the Champions
yeah.
League,
No, 100%.
which cost City. So it is quite interesting the way they try to outthink each other, but instead of just
Yeah,
keeping it quite simple. Look, with
yeah,
City quickly before we talk about Arsenal and their defense, which I'll come to a bit later on. But City obviously threw all their new signings in, well, not all, two of the three new signings into the starting lineup. Kusanov obviously didn't start well, made that mistake early on, but there's a language barrier. He's coming straight into the team, and you could use it as an excuse, but then you have Mamouche who just fit in so seamlessly. And like you say, maybe it's the confidence thing.
yeah, yeah,
And I think Chelsea fed into that because they keep playing this high line and they allowed City, who normally just pass the ball around, to say, you know what, screw this, we're gonna go direct, and they put the
yeah,
ball over the top, gave him balls to run onto. Erling
yeah,
Haaland's link up play was fantastic, holding up the ball to allow those guys to run off him. And if they keep sticking to that, it's going to be very interesting for them going forward. And I think Husinov will be good for them. You'll settle
yeah,
in, and just you'll adapt. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've never seen Pep just throw in new signings like that before.
Yeah, but I think it's a testament to the fact that their midfield is so shocking at this moment in time. So you can actually, and it's both a blessing, I suppose, and possibly a curse that you bypass that midfield. But to have Erling
Yeah.
Haaland and just have him use his strength, and that's the skill that he'll use on the day. Not a massive goal scoring threat, but it's like, okay, I'm going to play it to him. He's going to hold up. He's going to bring players in. Um, yeah, I did find that Chelsea were extremely open. I don't know if it was overconfidence or just ineptitude, but it was like
Yeah,
I'd
I mean,
wished
they
he had
really had to just drop
like that.
drop deep, play a deeper line. That's all.
Yeah,
instead of letting them run, play balls over the top and run, make them use that midfield that's not doing well.
Yeah,
Make them pass it around,
yeah,
and do that as opposed to just sticking to your plan. And after concede, okay, they went ahead 1-0. They could have
mm,
gone up 2-0. Obviously,
yeah.
Palmer was feeling very charitable, trying to get Jackson on the score sheet. But
His
then the
foot was
game
just
changed.
terrible. He hit the ball too hard. It was such a hard pass. That's like bread and butter stuff. But then,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
Jack finished.
And then it became 1-1, and then Chelsea just didn't
Mm,
change. They kept doing the
yeah,
same thing, and I think it just played into City what they needed in that game, which is don't expect too much from the midfield. Let's
yeah,
play a bit more direct, and yeah, I mean they took the defender off, and I think John Stones will be fit for this game, so I don't think he starts again.
mm,
But City is on the up, and I think it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, for Arsenal, every game seems to be tough. But good news for the Gunners and their defense is that Lewis-Skelly's red card was rescinded,
yeah,
so he is available to play immediately, which means that it increases the likelihood of us naming a back four, the same back four again.
yeah.
Right? Obviously,
Which
Calafiori
hasn't been the
is
case.
fit, which could mean he comes in. But our
Yeah,
back four's literally been changing every game.
yeah,
Every game, the back four is different, and it's a far cry to what we had in the previous season, where we had that stable back four, so Lieber, Gabriel, Ben White at right back, and I think left back was the only one that we had to
yeah.
make some changes because
But it's
of
at least three
injuries
out of
and so on.
four.
But
Yeah,
that settled back four was
yeah,
the bedrock. The defense was built on that, and then everything else could happen. And I think this season, what's put us down quite a bit is having to change that all the time.
yeah.
And you
100%.
can see like Saliba is struggling a bit. He hasn't been in great form, and he doesn't have Ben White next to him, which I
Yeah.
always believe in chemistry and how people work together. And that Saliba and Ben White, they kind of helped each other.
Yeah,
They fed off each other, and
yeah,
they covered each other's weak points, which you're now seeing with Saliba a little bit with whoever, maybe it's Timber who likes to push up and kind
yeah,
of come in as well, which our left
yeah,
back was generally doing, you know.
yeah,
So it is exposing him a little bit. So I'm hopeful that we're able to field a settled back four again.
yeah,
Obviously, we got the Champions League game on midweek, which I don't think is too big of a deal for Arsenal because they are in a good position to be in
yeah.
the top eight, I think, to go through. But yeah, a settled back four, man. That's all, and the rest will fall into place, I think.
No, for sure. I think you actually bring up Benjamin White, and I'm thinking about his impact that he's had over this last few seasons, and a lot of good that came from Saka's dominance, Odegaard's dominance, was owing to the fact that they had Benjamin White there as well, and he was exceptional. I think when we started
Yeah.
that run, where we went on all those wins, drew against City, lost against Villa last season, he chipped in with goals, assists,
Yeah,
the
and I
clean.
mean that's the thing, right? He's not the best right back in the world, but he fits the team and he
Yeah,
just makes the players around him better, and that's kind
and
of what you need.
yeah, and in a team of superstars, I think in a time where James Milner flourished as well, you don't need to be on top with an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. If you give me a 7.5 every game, I'm exceptionally
Yeah,
happy.
and I know you're gonna get that 7.5, that
100%. So
consistency.
you're guaranteed to get a 7.5 every game from one guy. That's perfect. Yeah, so I think he's also close to returning. So this back four gets a bit stable. Um, but yeah, I think the defense is probably going to be the biggest thing for us. Obviously, without Saka, it's going to be hard. But if we can get that same back four, like you say, I think a lot of the confidence that we get is from those back guys. And when they start playing confident and when they're feeling like they are bossing the game,
Yeah,
it completely filters through. So yeah,
yeah. And I mean, if they can make City's midfield play a bit more, it could,
yeah,
bring us into a midfield battle, which I'm fairly confident we can win with a fit
yeah,
Erdegaard, Declan Rice, Thomas Partey. I prefer Partey over Marino currently, just on form. I think Partey allows Rice to do more than what Marino does.
yeah,
I think when Marino plays in, Rice kind of he plays a bit within himself. He doesn't, bomb forward as much as he does, and he doesn't, take control of the game as much because I think Marino is very limited. He hasn't shown me enough yet. I haven't bought into him yet, but
yeah.
yeah, I prefer the party Rice Erdegaard trio.
I think it's a testament to Declan Rice because when he plays in the six, he does exceptionally well, and he does exactly what I'd want from a holding midfielder. When he plays in the eight, he also does exceptionally well. So that's just the versatility of it. Marino, I think possibly he's just not up to speed just yet, and I don't want to judge him too harshly because I've seen the player and I know that he is capable, but
Yeah,
given the dysfunction in the team, given the fact that we're changing backlines all the time, I'm gonna err on the side of caution. I'm gonna say, okay, give him a
yeah,
season. Let's see what's gonna happen.
yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah,
I agree with you. I'm being a bit harsh. I just feel better with Party, but obviously Party is going to be Lee. I think he's out of
yeah,
contract by the end of the season, so he's probably going to move on,
yeah,
which is good because you got
yeah,
the guy in already ahead of time. And then
yeah,
obviously the front line is probably going to be Havertz up front,
yeah,
Martinelli on one of the wings, and you'll start Trossard. I feel,
yeah,
even though I'd actually prefer Nwaneri to start
yeah,
and on one of the flanks, and then Trossard to come on off the bench because I feel he
yeah.
gives us more. He gives us more, man. Going
More,
forward
yeah, more of the
and off the
impact, right?
bench. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, more
yeah,
of
yeah.
an impact. Yeah,
But that's, I mean, that's good and well. And I don't want us to rush Nwaneri again, bringing him back too early.
mm.
But
Yeah, but
I
he,
would
he
most
started the
likely,
last game and he got pulled at halftime, so he should be. He
yeah.
should have enough
Was that
rest.
pulled
It
at
depends
halftime
what
because of
Watkins need.
that red card, right?
Yeah,
Sub was because we had okay, yeah. So that's. I
yeah.
mean,
So he
yeah, he probably gets a bit more time tonight, which adds extra
mm.
legs.
Yeah, and
Um,
I prefer him wide than in that Erdegaard role.
yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And it's again, it's a feather in his cap that he's not meant to be a right wing, but he plays it very well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's an exceptionally good skill to have. It's a good talent. It's good versatility to have. And in a team where Arsenal's injuries are just piling, it's nice to have a guy that can be
yeah. Look, I hope
multifunctional.
whoever we play can attack the defenders, run at them. I don't want to
Yeah,
see us take the ball and then double
sideways.
back and look to pass it
Yeah,
inside again.
yeah.
Just take the guys on because they're not confident, and
Yeah.
those defenders can be attacked. So, time to put you on the spot here. What's your prediction for the game?
Yeah, I'm gonna go confident. I'm gonna go Arsenal 2-1.
Arsenal 2-1. Any set piece goals or you going open play?
We scored two set, well, yeah, sort of two set piece goals when we played them to start. I think one set piece
Yeah,
goal.
are we missing Saka's delivery? Rice's delivery is fantastic. Just a
Rice
quick
is
one
good.
on this. Yeah,
It
he's
could possibly
fantastic.
be from that
Just
side. Yeah,
a quick one on this, right? Hmm?
Odegaard chips the ball too much. Saka whoops it. Odegaard does like a curly, high, lofty thing.
And
Like, nah, man.
Trossard doesn't even beat the front man, the front post.
Maybe, yeah,
Just on this one quickly, right? Obviously, they've run the numbers and they've got their set piece coach and blah blah blah. And it seems like they committed to only in swinging corners. What's wrong with the out swinging corner? If Rice can put the ball in a better spot, why not use him on both sides to take the corners instead of getting your best left-footed player who isn't actually great at crossing the ball from a corner?
I suppose it's just to create that extra bit of tension in that 6 yard area. So if you're going out swinger, you're obviously going to kill it away. And I'm not saying that I'm against it because I think we've seen with Alexander Arnold, he's able to whip it fine. But for Arsenal's particular style with the height we're wanting to flood that sort of goal line to 8 yard area.
Yeah, but I
And
mean, if you have a set piece coach, surely you have multiple ways. It can't just be the same set piece over and over because then what are you doing? You're not. There's no variety
yeah,
then. So I mean, I'm all for the outswinging corner to see guys can run onto it. They can build a bit of pace, get
yeah,
up, and they can put that power behind the ball rather than just glancing in. It just gives another dimension. So I'd like the best crosser to take the corners on both sides, and I feel that Rice can put the ball on the spot
yeah.
better than what the Trossard or Erdegaard is doing for us at the moment. With that in mind, I'm going bold. I'm going 2-0 to Arsenal. I think we
Ooh,
can
love
keep a
that.
clean sheet.
Love that.
And if we are gonna win, we gotta do it big. So let's go
Yeah,
and get this 2-0. You got the 2-1. Let's see
yeah.
who comes out on top. And this has been another episode of 343. It was episode 102. Thank you for all the followers, the likes, the subscriptions. Keep engaging with us. If you're not following yet, then do so. If you're not subscribing yet, do so. And we got a lot more to come. In the coming months. So thanks again for your time, Jason. Thanks for joining us, and it was fun to just have an Arsenal centric or Arsenal bias in this
100%.
episode. Don't worry, next week we shall have some more variety in the opinions. But for now, that's all from us at 343. Cheers, bro.
See you, man.